Have you ever noticed what goes on in your mind when you think about something? Picture this, you think about a flower, a rose or maybe a lily, and instantly an image of that flower pops up in your head. It's almost like a photograph has formed in your brain. We call this mental image. We know that this mental image is there, and we do not doubt its existence. And because of this certainty, there is a huge literature purporting to the claim that there are picture-like objects that play a role in our reasoning. But the question is, are mental images concepts, or are mental images and concepts two different things that play different roles in our thought? Enter dual code theory, which claims that our thoughts are of two types, one being verbal and the other one being pictorial, that we think in words and that we think in pictures. The proof for this claim comes from studies done on psychophysical properties such as reaction time, which says that the time that it takes to do something in our imagination mirrors the time that it takes to do the same thing in the real world. Try this. Imagine a dot moving from point A to point B. Now increase the distance between these points and see how the dot travels the longer distance. You will notice it takes longer for the dot to reach its destination. The greater the distance, the more time that it takes. The same thing happens when you rotate an image. The greater the angle, the more time that it takes. This shows that there are picture-like objects in our minds, and these picture-like objects obey the same rules as objects and distances in the real world. While it's tempting to think of mental images as concepts in our minds, what if I told you that they might be something entirely different? Let's dive into some surprising reasons why mental images can't be concepts and how this distinction could change the way we think about our thoughts. The first reason is called the black swan argument, which stems from the notion that perception interacts with our beliefs. That's one reason why we say, I gotta see it to believe it. Suppose today, you firmly believe that all swans are white, and tomorrow, while taking a walk in the park, probably thinking about whether if I've turned off the gas stove when I moved out from the house or not, you suddenly spot a black swan. Now what happens? Your rock-solid belief that all swans are white turns out to be wrong. Your commitment to the prior belief changes. So how does this change in belief happen? What the image theory would say is that today when you have to believe that all swans are white, you will picture a bunch of white swans, and tomorrow when you see the black swan, then you will picture a black swan, and if the two pictures do not match, then you will change your belief. But is that so? Try picturing a black swan. Got it? Now try picturing all swans are white. Easy, right? Now try picturing how these two mental images are not same, that they are not compatible with each other. We can't really do that because the idea of compatibility is not something which we can visualize. However, concepts can capture such relationships such as compatibility, sameness, distinctness, similarity, while mental images cannot, and therefore mental images are not concepts. Here's the second reason. Some concepts apply to things that can't be pictured, like the concept of justice, freedom, equality. Can we picture the concept of equality? Not exactly, because it is not something which we can visualize. Okay, we can't picture abstract concepts, but how about concrete concepts, like the concept of a triangle? When you think about the concept of a triangle, you might picture something like this, or even this. But here's the catch. These are just specific instances of the concept of triangle. In other words, these are just examples. The concept of triangle is much broader. It applies to all the possible triangles that could ever exist. We are talking about triangularity, the property that all triangles share, which is something that we cannot visualize. How about one of the most concrete concepts, such as the concept of John? When you think about the concept of John, you might picture him like this. If we just assume that we both know John and John happens to look like this. But this picture of John is just a specific instance of him. However, the concept of John applies to all the possible appearances of him. John as an infant, John as a teenager, Papa John. So pictures or mental images obviously capture just a specific instance. However, concepts capture the totality per se. Therefore, mental images are not abstract concepts, nor are they concrete concepts. Here's the third argument. It's called the Leibniz's law argument. Leibniz's law states that if we have two things and their properties are same, then these two things are identical. So following the same rationale, if we can prove that mental images properties and brain states properties are same, then that would mean that mental images and brain states are identical. Then that would mean that mental images are displayed in our brain, or to be more specific, our visual cortex. So are mental images and brain states properties same? Let's find out. So when you try to picture a mental image which is red in color, does that mean that your brain turns red? Or when you move that mental image in your head, does that mean that there's movement in your brain? No. And moreover, mental images rely on allocentric coordinates while our visual cortex organizes visual input retinotopically. In simple words, when you move your head, your vision changes in your visual cortex. However, try imagining a mental image and try moving your head. Does your mental image move when you move your head? No. So certainly there is a difference between mental images and brain states. So following the Leibniz law, if mental images and brain states properties are not same, then that would mean that mental images and brain states are not identical. Then that would mean that mental images are not displayed in our brain or say visual cortex. Then where are they displayed? Where? And finally, the fourth reason. Images have parts and concepts have constituents. What do I mean by this? Take for example the complex concept Mary and her brothers, which refers to Mary and her brothers. Now this complex concept has two constituents. The first one is the concept Mary, which refers to Mary, and the other one being the concept her brothers, which refers to Mary's brothers. How is this complex concept derived from these constituent concepts? But do we even need to answer such a question? Or do we even need to ask such a question? Yes, we do. It is only when we ask such a question that we'll be able to know why concepts are productive, why concepts compose. But what do I mean by concepts compose? Imagine concepts as Lego sets. Just like we can combine Lego pieces to build bigger structures, we can combine concepts to form complex concepts. Take for example the concept of chess and the concept of boxing. Combine these two together and you get chess boxing, which is a real thing where people go for alternating rounds of chess and boxing until someone gets knocked out or checkmated. Now images have parts, therefore images compose. Here's a picture of Mary and her brothers. Chop this picture up into several pieces. Now rearrange these small pieces, you'll get a new picture. Therefore, images compose. So if both mental images and concepts compose, then what exactly is the argument here? The argument here is that mental images have parts and parts do not follow syntactic rules. And that's one reason you can rearrange this picture of Mary and her brothers in any way you like. However, concepts have constituents and constituents follow syntactic rules that dictate how you can combine them. Here's a bunch of concepts. The concept of love, the concept of I, the concept of cats. And you can combine these concepts in only one way, and that is I love cats. Here's another bunch of concepts. You can combine them in any way you like, and you can type it down in the comment section. So since mental images have parts and concepts have constituents, therefore mental images are not concepts. But what exactly are concepts? Stay tuned to find out in the next video.